Hey there, and welcome to Home Alive. It is Friday. Thank goodness, everyone says. How you all doing? Hope you're doing well in the chat. We have a really special guest for us lined up today. Another publishing manager from the expert team here at Homa. So, without further delay, I am going to welcome on to the stream Augustin. Hello, how you doing?
Hey Kevin, how are you?
Awesome, thank you. So, yeah, just before we kick things off today, do you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do here at Homa?
Sure. So I'm working as publishing manager at Homa. It's been 2 years now. I've been working there since 2020. Been working on a lot of games with a lot of studio from all around the world. And recently I worked on a newly published game with Homa called Fairy Rush that you can find in the top shots at the moment. And yeah, it's been a pleasure. The 2 years of working, making games, it has been super fun. And yeah, I love the idea of deconstructing a game together today. So yeah, really happy about being here. Thanks for having me.
No, you're welcome. The pleasure is all mine and ours. And I know everyone's liking these in the chat here. So, what is up to everybody in the chat? Do give us a like on that video if you like this sort of stuff, and we can do more for you. But yeah, I'm really excited about this. It's actually covering a game that I've never played, so it's new for me. This one somehow slipped me by. So, without further ado, I'm just going to hand over to you now, if that's okay, and I'll be watching along, and we'll come back on after and have a chat.
Great. Hey everyone. So this is we're going to do a quick presentation of the game Blob Hero. It's a game that was published by Rolik Game, and I wanted to present it because I think it's a very interesting game, very new, very innovative, and yeah, different from a lot of things that we can see currently on the market. I think it's interesting to test to discuss game that took a bit more risk and try to do differently. So yeah, without further ado, let's dive in. I'm gonna go through the concept, the key figures, through the gameplay, the aesthetic, and then explain why I wanted to present this game and why I think this game is good. So to start with, some the context of the game and the key figures. As you can see, the little ID card for this game. It's a game by Rolik. The studio behind it is Quack Games, uh, who is also the studio who published Blob Runner 3D that you might have seen. So yeah, another Blob game from the same studio. It was released in March 2022, and it started scaling very shortly after beginning of April 2022. It had three big content update before scaling and a few performances update. And today it has up to 5 million downloads. You can see it on the slide. You have 5 million downloads, 3.8 of which are on Android and 1.2 of which are on iOS. And around 20%, 17% of the all the downloads are from the US. So it's not a game that got like a massive amount of downloads. We are 5 million is very decent, but it's not like a huge hit in terms of download. But yeah, as we're gonna see after, it's a different game, and it's kind of a first of its genre. So it was very interesting to test to discuss it a bit. And in terms of rankings, as you can see, it wasn't either like a very successful hit in terms of top shots, but still did relatively good with a top 30 on Android and a top 85 on iOS for the both for the US. What I wanted to start with is to compare it with the game from the competition, because it was not the Blob Hero was not the first game like this, and we had a very similar game uh, made by Voodoo called Goo Fighter that you can see here, that was released prior to Blob Hero, and that's starting scaling at the same time. And we had kind of a battle on the in the top charts between the two game. The Rolling game Blob Hero and the Voodoo game Goo Fighter, that are very similar game in the same genre, and both of them kind of appear on the one the Goo Fighter started to be was released before, but eventually it got beaten by Blob Hero, who took most of the install and like kind of grab the market share that was and the audience for this type of game. And I think it's very interesting to see, to kind of analyze how they went faster with the game, and yeah, to see the differences in terms of results. Because as you can see here, Goo Fighter top shots were less good than Blob Hero, only a top 185 at best on iOS, and bottom top 100 for Android. And in terms of download, only 1 million download, with 50% of which in the US, compared to the 5 million downloads of Blob Hero. And a third competitor is Balloon Defense by Boom Hits, which is way less scaled, only 500, like half a million downloads, and top 350 in the US, with only an Android version. I think what is interesting to take a look at is the publishing timeline, and it was really a race between the two. I described it below. In black is Blob Hero dates, and in red are Goo Fighter. Goo Fighter was released first on both network, on iOS and Android, but Blob Hero was faster to scale, and was better in the scaling. And I think it's because overall the Blob Hero product is better, and that's I explained why it got more success than Goo Fighter. And we're gonna dive into Blob Hero to see why is this game good, and why it's succeeded where Voodoo Games was not able to succeed. So first of all, the genre. It's a new hybrid genre. It's When you look at the top shots genre distribution, you can have a you can have it here. You have a lot of runner games. We all know about them. You have a lot of puzzle game as well, and then you have like some minor genre that are a bit less present in the charts, but we all know about them: the battle genre, the simulation, the shooter. When you look at what we have on our lab, we have a lot of runner as well, a lot of puzzle, a lot of simulation, but that's kind of it. Like it's like there is a few genre, and most of the game fits in one of those category. Whereas Blob Hero is neither a runner nor a puzzle nor a simulation. It's a new subgenre that we have been analyzing at Homa, that we gave a nickname to it, called it the horde shooter genre. So the in terms of historic background, it came from it was an adaptation from indie PC games such as Vampire Survivors on Steam, and it's a genre that was largely covered by Twitch streamers, and on YouTube you can find video like the one I screenshot at the bottom. And the formula is a top-down view with a joystick control, infinite level, and a lot of massive enemy waves, with a very minimalistic look to avoid too much visual noise. So we're gonna have hundreds of enemies coming at the hero, but the enemies are all similar and all the same color and the same size, so it's not too messy on the screen. And we're gonna have a very interesting character upgrade system. So basically, every time you kill enemies, you're gonna collect uh, some loot, and with the loot, you're gonna be able to upgrade and reach a new level. And every level, you have the arcade-like system where you're gonna have to choose between three upgrades. So either a new attack, or upgrading one of your attack, upgrading your health, or your speed, etc. And you have this infinite gameplay loop, because it takes more than 10 minutes to complete a world. And so for 10 minutes, the player is hooked into the game. And you have those constant upgrades that you have, that keep a very fast pace in the game, because you're always going to have a new upgrade, something new, instant reward, which is the basic hyper casual system. Give a reward to the player every 10 seconds, every 20 seconds, but at the same time, longer worlds, which kind of keep the player in the game for the long run, because when you are inside the world and you're still alive in the world with your character, you don't want to quit the game. So you're going to play 10 minutes. So in terms of play times, that's obviously a big win. You can see here what was the reference for Blob Hero. Most likely the reference. You have other games that Vampire Survivors, but as you can see, like you have a lot of those games on PC, and with a very old-fashioned art style, very old school art style. You can see here, but the system is the same. A very large crowd coming at you, and the hero in the center using like various powers to destroy the hordes and stay alive, basically. So the core loop, we already described it. You can see a bit of gameplay on the side on the screenshot. Um, Basically, the world take a long time to complete, but you have those 5 to 15 seconds upgrade bonuses. Like it goes every time you kill people to a certain amount. You see the blue bar here. You're gonna reach a new level, and when you pass the level 3, you're gonna get a choice between several upgrade on the screen. The game pauses, and you get the choice between several upgrades. And you have 50 upgrades per world. Basically, when you reach level 50, it's the end of the world, and you're gonna have the boss coming. And after killing the boss, you can reach the next world, which is basically very similar to the previous world, but with different colors for the enemies, for the background, and you keep some of the abilities through incremental upgrades. So that was about the core loop. When we go into monetization, obviously we want to make money with the game, so we need to have ads integrated in the game. You have the classic interstitials. In this game, the IS pressure is pretty low because you have an interstitial every 100 seconds, whereas in other games it's going to be every level, and most of the games level are going to be 30 seconds. So most of the time, in other high HC game, you're going to have an interstitial every 30 seconds, and here it's 3 times less. Except if you pause it, you have an interstitial coming in quicker. But yeah, pretty low IS pressure, but you still have IS. Otherwise, I guess the LT, it was not sustainable. The LTV was too low, so you still have interstitial, but the pressure is pretty low. And when we go into the details of the different rewarded videos, you can see here the incrementals upgrade. So basically, even if you lose uh, are defeated in a world or win a world, every time you're on the back on the main menu, you're able to upgrade your health, damage, and loot, and those capacities are going to stick with you from world to world. So that basically the long-term progression. So when you played a lot, you're going to get better, even though you're not winning. Even though you lose all the upgrades you win inside the world, you're going to have some inter-level progression, basically players upgrades that the player can keep. And for an RV, you can get a free upgrade. The second the second rewarded videos is a very classic. It's the revive. So basically, if you die in a world, you can choose to watch an RV to revive. In this game, it's like extremely valuable because the world are so long to complete, 10 minutes plus, that you invest so much. Like basically, you invest 7 minutes of your time in this world. If you die, you really don't want to start from zero, and also it's very satisfying because if you choose to revive all the enemies around you, and most of the time when you die, you have like a massive mass of enemy around you, like 100 enemies. They're all gonna die and give you coins and loot. So basically, you're really incentivized to watch this revive RV because it's very valuable. And the last one here is the coin multiplier RV. Very classic. It's not a very valuable RV in the game, but still nice to have for some players. Uh, Last page on rewarded video, I promise. But yeah, some more choices you can have in the game. You have the reward chest. I got a bit mixed up here. I put when player level up. This one is when player open a chest, you get a free power, and if you watch an RV, you can like have two other powers, the one at the bottom for free. This is a very valuable RV because every power upgrade is super important to get stronger and to win the game basically. And watching those RV triple the number of upgrades you get every time you open a chest. So it's very valuable, and also it's very rare because I mean pretty rare because it's only in chests, and chests you find like 10, 15 of them in the level. So it's kind of a rare RV. And this one, the other one here on the middle, is when player level up. You can watch another RV to get a free upgrade. It's also nice, but it's like twice less nice than the reward chest because you have only one power upgrade for free instead of two. And the last one here is watching RV to unlock skins, rare skins. It's nice visually, but it doesn't add a lot to the game. In terms of art style, I think it's also very important to discuss because that's also one of the big elements why Blob Hero performed so much better than Goo Fighter is because Blob Hero has the blob assets. It looks very good, and it's also like kind of a like the unique selling point of the game. It's a game around blob, and yeah, it's different from the other game because of that. You have the blob assets that are very difficult to render well, uh, and yeah, it's the same studio that worked on Blob Runner, so they kind of reused everything that they did. You have the very nice shiny and squishy effects on all the Blob's character, and you have a great animation. Like every you can see on the screen, the character is kind of a slime himself, and the worm Blob worm here looks like candy, and it's like it looks super nice, and it's very well animated. It looks like it's crawling in the air. So yeah, I think that's a very strong point for the game to have those blob set, and you have also a lot of power diversities. Every power attack looks different, and a lot of them are also blob related. You have the blob worm that you can see on the screen that looks great. You have the blob missiles, the blob comet, the blob satellites that turn around you. So yeah, once again, all those you're gonna see when we're gonna watch some some creatives with Kevin right after. But in some of those creatives, you can see the different blob attacks that are super well realized. Also, something else, the dark background. You can see you have kind of a dark ambience in this game compared to other hyper casual game. It's because it gives a lot of contrast with the characters that are like super bright, and you have also a lot of lights effect on the blobs, like a lot of well, basically it's like they are very kind of fluo and like very light, so you have a nice contrast like this. And also the last point in the art style is the massive crowd. You have like they went like super far into having a lot of characters on the screen at the same time, and it was super intimidating because this crowd is like always moving towards you, never stopping. They are running, and they are like it's very dense crowd of several hundreds of people following you and running after you. So yeah, it add a lot of tension to the game, and it looks amazing. And you're gonna see when we're gonna analyze some of the creatives they did. The crowd is the main element that like catches the attention and makes us want to play the game. So yeah, to end with, what is it makes this game good, in my opinion? Obviously, the fact that it's action packed. You have like the infinite core loop, infinite 10 plus minutes, and this feeling of rush. Like when you are inside the world, either you're winning or losing. I mean, you don't want to stop. You're kind of hooked into the action, and you're gonna keep playing until you either dead or you pass the world. So basically, you have a very big loop of 10 minutes where you kind of hook the player in. You have the upgrade system that is very addictive and very frequent. Every 15 seconds, you gain a level, you level up, and you get to choose between the upgrade. So you have this choice factor, and you have this getting these incremental upgrades that you get a little bit better every time, and you really feel it in the battlefield. You can kill the enemies much more fast, and yeah, you have this addiction building in because you keep upgrading constantly, so it feels great. And then the final thing is the enemy waves. The fact that you have you're trying to escape, but you never can, and there is this tension built in the game, and you can always running for your life. So it's the I think the feeling, the pace is really well done. So yeah, that's why I think this game is addictive and difficult to stop playing. Thanks a lot, guys. That's all for me in this
Very
presentation.
cool indeed. Yeah, like I said, this one passed me by. Now we know Goo Fighter very well because we played that on Academy Live a few weeks back. We know Paul from Home Games, and that was obviously acquired by Voodoo. But yeah, he was saying to me that they're doing a huge amount of updates, so I think we can see that one getting another scale up soon. But I think this is a really interesting new sort of subgenre, isn't it? And you raised so many great points there. It reminds me of the old dungeon crawler type games, and the examples you gave from Steam again fits really well with what we've been talking about, the whole essence of this jam. Like, just because you haven't seen it and their landscape, like the Steam is such a really great melting pot of inspiration for you, because you can take what is a genre that hasn't really made its way onto mobile, certainly not into inside hyper casual, and transform that into a new game. um, Loads of great points out. I really talk to me about this infinite level and the 10-minute thing. I didn't quite get what you said there, so forgive me. Is it a 10-minute level? What happens after 10 minutes?
Basically, if you have several worlds in the game, you don't have level. So basically, you keep playing until you reach the end of the world, and it takes you up to 10 minutes or more to
Right.
complete the world. Like if you want to finish it, you're gonna see like you get better and better when you upgrade your character, and you do it like 50 times to reach the end of the world. So you're gonna upgrade a lot, but you're gonna also have more and more people in the crowd, and they're gonna get better as well. Like they're gonna level up as well, and after a while you play for 10 minutes and you think like, okay, it's never stopping, it's always getting more and more difficult, and you wonder when it stops, and after 10 minutes you have a boss coming in and you have to defeat it to get to the next world. But basically when a normal or classic hyper casual level is going to be 30 seconds, here you can't really stop until 10 minutes if you want to complete a world basically.
Yeah, no, very cool. That makes a lot more sense now. Like I said, I haven't played this one, so that's why I was sort of asking what was a bit of a silly question. So it
Yeah,
takes around 10 minutes until the boss appears or whatever, around about that time. And of course, once you're starting, you're invested in playing, you don't want to leave because you're going to have to start over, which is super annoying. Just going to
exactly.
see, just remind everyone, if you've got any questions today, do get them in that chat there. We will do our best to answer them. Can we show the gameplay? Says Carg Hard. So yeah, we've got the game queued up today. We're going to try and get to that. We're going to look at some creatives first, but we should be playing the game. Playing the game now, and yeah, it's quite stressful from the crowd without feeling like it's too hard. Says, wow, I'm going to butcher your name. I'm really sorry, Karnwan. Yeah, I think that's good. And the word that I really picked up on was tension, because it's got you got all that crowd, and it looks, oh my goodness, it looks epic. By actually without playing everybody knows what's happening, and there's like a swarm or this crowd. I think it's really smart, and I would love the fact that you put it against the two or three other games that. Well, certainly against Goo Fighters for the example today, and I think it's interesting to see why is this one doing well and why isn't that one. And I did know before because I saw your slide, but it's from the same studio as Blob Runner, which makes sense because that game was so blooming well built. It was insane.
Yeah.
The production quality was so good on that game. Well, how much? What sort of weight do you put on the graphics for something? Well, like for any sort of games in 2022 these days.
Well, I think that's really the first step, at least for Blob Hero. When you mentioned the dungeon crawler and all the reference I shared as well, I mentioned Vampire Survivors game from Steam. When you look at them, they have the same loop, they have the same gameplay, they have already most of the success of Blob Hero comes from those games. They kind of take it and just adapted it to mobile, but it's the visual art style and the look of the game that is going to make it hyper casual. Because if you had the same graphics, I think it would never have worked. If you have the same pixelated, yeah, 2D graphics, it would not work for the audience in 2022. So I think, yeah, working. I mean, Blob Hero, I think, did the right thing by putting I mean, the studio put their all the experience and knowledge on Blob asset on the game, and it looks very good, and it's a very good 3D, very well animated. And I think that's really what made it possible to adapt a Steam indie gameplay to a hyper casual and mass audience. It's the like it is the art style that speaks to everyone, that looks very modern and yeah, very appealing. That makes it possible. I think otherwise, a lot of indie games would not be so easily translated to mobile.
No, I think that's absolutely right, and I think what they've done is a really bloody good version of that game for mobile. And like you said, the assets, everything looks really smart, and they're obviously a really accomplished studio. And it just goes to show you the production level as time rolls forward. Our audience is expecting more, so just keep that in mind. It doesn't mean you can't necessarily get away with non-dribble A graphics and all of that, but just know if you want to win big, then these studios are winning big because they've got the whole package. I think that's what I'm trying to say. So
Yeah.
listen, we've got some creatives lined up. I'm going to flick over there now, and maybe you can talk us through a little bit on what we're looking at as we do this now. So let me just flick over that. So what are we looking at here?
Yeah, so this is from Goo Fighter, so the game from Voodoo. In Goo Fighter, the enemies are different. I think that's the main differences between the two games. Is that instead of having crowds of people, stickmen running at you, you have this goo enemy, which is looking much more yeah, like a liquid coming at you. In the game, this video is kind of a fake gameplay. It doesn't look exactly like that in the game. In the game, you're gonna have just one big land. Not gonna have those small islands, but you're gonna have a similar enemy that is like crawling on the ground and trying to attack you. And when you kill it, it kind of like spread into little like small puddles of goo attacking you. So yeah, I think it's interesting their choice here to change the ground from what it really is in the actual gameplay, and also the very strong contrast between the white of the platforms and the red of the goo, and yeah, it looks weird to have like kind of this enemy coming at you in form of a goo. I don't know what you think, Kevin.
Yeah, well, I was like got completely confused myself because when we played it, it was a single player game. There was no multiplayer aspect like this. Now it might have been that we got on a particular update that it wasn't either implemented or it was, and then they took it out. But when we played it, it was definitely just a single. It wasn't like an IO type game.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, and you're right. It looks completely different. They've placed it on these platforms in the water where it was just a pure landscape, and the graphics. I'm guessing we played a later version because the graphics look way better in game,
yeah.
and there was tons of power ups coming up. I do like the contrast in this though. I think it's kind of good. Honestly, I mean, I don't. This doesn't look massively exciting to me, but I might be slightly biased because I played it and I think the game looks better than this video. But what it does do really well is that you know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's really successful for this one. Is there
Yeah, I
any.
agree.
Go on.
Sorry, yeah, I agree what you said. I think it looks better in the game. I think what they tried here, it seems to have worked because it's one of the best performing creatives. But I think what they tried here is simplify it, because it's a new concept, having this goo enemy attacking you and like shooting it. It looks maybe weird to players, so they wanted to make it sure that the all the different elements are super well separated. Like you have the platforms, and you have the goo, and you have the your character. And they tried the IO thing to maybe make it a bit more familiar to player. Like you have a team maybe with you. Um, but yeah, I agree. It doesn't look super good in terms of art, but it looks clear. At least you understand what is
Yeah, I
happening
mean, I think that
in the
I mean that's the thing, and this is what we keep saying. Like, doesn't matter what I think, doesn't matter what you think. It matters what the market thinks. And like I said, for me, I think it looks better in game. But you're right. What are we looking at? We're it's really clear. The contrast is really good. You know that this is red goo that's killing people. And I wonder if this is a fake multiplayer then. But either way, it's very familiar and it looks kind of cool. And I think even more so, it's like when you go into the game and it looks even better, then it's kind of a nice surprise anyway.
yeah
Um, I just wanted to read that out because Baptiste said he got a heart attack last time he played it. It was too stressful for him. So yeah, I can imagine it's pretty tense, these ones, aren't they?
yeah
Should we move on to the next ad?
sure. So yeah, I think here it's the similar graphics, but you just have you don't have the IO gameplay, but you have even more tension with the goo coming from all sides and kind of uh, blocking you. So yeah, I think in terms of tension building, it looks amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we've got the contrast. We were just saying the contrast of the white and the blue, but here we've got yellow and black. Now, certainly here in the UK, and I should imagine elsewhere in the world, that's our number plate colours, right? Because it's high contrast. That's for a reason. It's proven high contrast. I really like this one where you're in the middle and you got it coming at all angles. That's just like that is anxiety, and obviously
Yeah,
they've got that really quick upgrade screen that pops in there when, and then once you press it, you upgrade to the double gun, which is really clever. So you just get a brief part there where he upgrades his gun to a double, and I think that's really smart. I prefer this ad than the other one, if I'm
yeah,
honest.
me too.
But again, very successful, that one. Let's have a look at this one. Oh,
So
okay.
if you can just move to the previous one, just
Of
one
course,
thing.
yeah, sure.
I think showing the upgrade system is great, because it's like very appealing to player to say, okay, I can upgrade, I can like have a better gun, etc. Here, I don't think it looks great that like it kind of takes you too far away from the gameplay, because you have this screen like taking over and like kind of hiding where you at and the action. Whereas in Blob Hero, you have the upgrade appearing, but you still see it's just kind of a little part in the middle of the screen, but you still see all around, and you can the game is paused, but you can still see the enemy and where you are on the screen and your character. Yeah, I think a tip for
Do
every
you
hyper
think?
casual game. Yeah,
Yeah, do you think they could have just gotten away with like saying like upgrade activated or something, and then the bullets without jumping into that screen, where they could just sort of put it on the screen somehow, and then it turned into double bullets? Do you think that would have worked better
no, I think
rather than
choice
that screen
the
coming
choice
in?
is the choice is still important. I think having the different possibilities, but I think trying to give the choice to player without hiding the action would have been best. Maybe on the side, like you have like three blocks coming in on the
Yeah,
side, and you can like tap one of those. But yeah, like a usual general tip for a hyper casual game, like getting the player out of the action is bad. Like we need like one tap to play. Basically, just you can always have the gameplay accessible, and here it's kind of hiding the gameplay, hiding the game. So it's I think it's a bit frustrating for players.
yeah, agreed. This one is, of course, has got a fail state as well, because we die halfway through that, don't we? Um, But what's nice about that as well, just one last thing before we move on, you can see that, we're always hyper casuals, always focusing on the feedback. Even when we're shooting the goo, we're getting little diamonds pop up there. So there's, it's always trying to have, if we do an action, we want a reaction and we want to see it, hear it, or even feel it with some haptics. So always remember that when you're building your games. If you're shooting something and someone's dying, make sure that there's an action or like a particle effect or just something that pops up to add the juiciness to the game. All right, let's flick over to the next one then. So I don't know what this is.
This is Blob Hero,
Right.
so the one from
Okay.
Rolik, but it's a very old version. Like it's, I would say, V1. The upgrade doesn't look the same. The crowd is less dense, and the hero is not a blob. So, in my opinion, it could be, because I wasn't there when they started the game, but it would be the version before they had the genius idea of going to blob characters. So yeah, it was kind of the basic gameplay first version.
I really like the particles on these fire. I actually prefer this. I know. I know. I'm going to get all of these wrong. I was saying this to you before. I always get the wrong performing adverts. I'm used to saying it, but I mean, I really like the graphics on this one. The I don't much like the animation of the characters here. I think they look a bit weird, but I like the particles of the shooting particles, and obviously you've got loads of feedback with the 50s coming off, and they're all dropping coins, and it looks way more exciting to me personally. But what do you think? Yeah, Jilly just said the firepower on this one's really good. Yeah, exactly. That's what
Yeah.
I think too. I really like it. This they did what we were just talking about with the upgrades popping up over the screen here, which I think does work way better, doesn't it? Like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It's not as clean as I'd like it, but I think it still works pretty well.
Yeah.
Um, what's What's the overall feeling for you on this one? Do you think you saying it's early? Do you think what do you think was successful about this one on this sort of test then?
Yeah. Um, for me, I think you have a lot of good thing that they kept, like the crowd. It looks great. The Like the reward when you kill them, you have a little number above their head with the damage. All the blue stuff coming in, they kept it as well in the current game. Like it's what you need to collect to upgrade. So you have really the base of the game. For me, looking at it, and I agree with you. Like the fireballs look very good, but it's not blob, so you don't have you kind of miss you can it's like the game doesn't look very much different to other game. Like you've seen the same type of blob of sorry, fireball in other games, and I think yeah, it's missing a bit of a uniqueness that you can find in a blob hero, where they really focus on having every attack is blob like, looking like blobs, and like visually it's much more um yeah, unique. And I think players would be more attracted to like uh, seeing a blob ball instead of fireball, because yeah, it changes from what you see in the market in other games. And yeah, the stickman, like the main character here is a white stickman, and once again it's a bit underwhelming. Like you have just a classic white stickman that you've seen 100 times in other game. I think just changing it for the blob hero, which gave the name of the game, or is also a big difference in itself, because it makes the game look different and gives the game its own identity, I think.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'd like you might know there's a slight technical issue here. It seems like the iPad's died on me, which is really annoying. I guess what we can do is we're just going to tell me about what you think they could have done that they didn't on this on Blob here. While I'm going to try and fix the iPad here. I don't know why that's broken, but I'm curious to know why. What else could you have done to the game? What would you have liked to see in the game that wasn't there?
Yeah, it's a good question. A bit tough, obviously. I think yeah, I think the recipe is already good. I played it a lot, and I know there is like many games I just play a couple level off, and then I drop them. Whereas this one is still on my phone and has been on my phone for the past months, and I keep enjoy playing it. I think the challenge make it very different. So you're kind of frustrated in the good way, like you're not able to complete the game, to win over the game. So you want to come back and show that you're better than the game, but it's kind of a tough thing. It feels also very good strategy wise. I think contrary to many hyper casual game in Blob Hero, you have the feeling of building your own strategy. Like you have, let's say you have a panel of 10 powers that you can choose from, and then you can upgrade some of the power. So when you have level 1 power, it's going to be not so powerful. When you have the same power, like let's say a blob missile at level 10, it's going to be much more powerful, and you're gonna have to specialize in one of the power, and like build your strategy around the power that you choose. And game after game, you kind of uh, build a strategy and find which are the power that works better for you. And I think this is very good because it feels a bit like the player is taking control of the game and kind of making the best of the game. And it's not like the game guiding him, but it's the player building the strategy on top of the game and kind of using the game and to beat it. And yeah, I think this gives a lot of depth to Blob Hero. So honestly, there is not a lot of things I would change. I just feel like after a couple worlds, you understand that it's just going to be the same thing with different colors and a different boss at the end. But it's still a very interesting game, and I mean, I played a very long time, so I feel like it's already doing very good on every side. Ideally, what we could add would be more differences from level to level. So maybe when you move to another world, you're going to have another type of enemy with other types of attack, because at the moment all the enemies are the same. Maybe you could have a new power that you unlock only after a few worlds. I think it's the case, but it's most of the power that you unlock later are kind of less good. But so yeah, it would be just on content, just a bit diversity after a few worlds. But honestly, I think this game is already pretty good.
Yeah, thanks for that. And as you might have guessed, it looks like we've had a total fail on the my iPad just died. I have no idea why, so I'm really sorry about that. We're going to have to
No
cut the
problem.
advert short. I'm not going to be able to play it today. It's very I don't. It just died on me. It's very odd.
Fine.
I think overall, the the differences that you said you change are kind of minor, aren't they? They got all the core things really right, and of course the graphics are good. And from what I saw, the GUI that was really nice. If someone was trying to build a different version of this, what that's kind of where the question I was going. You said more worlds and more sort of different stuff coming in. Is there a sort of, because this is a relatively new sort of genre? Is there a take on this game that you think, oh, this would be really good with something else? And I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but I'm just curious to know, because you know this one really well. Is there a sort of a take on it that you think is missing that might be an opportunity right now?
I definitely think there is some room in this genre to build another successful uh, blob hero, like I would say a hoarder shooter. But yeah, you need to find a good something different. For me, the identity of Blob Hero is the blob theme and the blob attacks. And if a studio was to think of another kind of visual identity, visual theme that they could put on top of this genre, basically use what works, like the infinite loop, the 10-minute worlds, the upgrade system, all that, the massive crowds, but add in a little bit of a visual uniqueness. I think that could be another hit. Um, I won't give a precise example because I'm working on with a studio at the moment on kind of a twist on that, and we have something different. It's like Blob Hero plus that is
Okay.
making it look like super different. But yeah, the gameplay is going to be pretty relatively the same. So the idea would be to switch the gameplay a little bit more, so it's not too close to Blob Hero, but keep them, adding this kind of unique art style that we have to make it look different. And so even people who already installed Blob Hero and liked it, are willing to try our game as well.
That's great. Yeah, I'm just sort of catching up with a little bit of the chat there. And of course, this is we kind of derailed ourselves because we were going to play through the game and there was a few more ads to show. But anyone who is inside Homa Lab and you get access to the Academy content, we're going to be putting all the slideshows, all the examples up. So be sure, if you haven't already, to create yourself an account there. Augustine, we're going to basically start to wrap this up today. Thank you so much. I'm really gutted we never got to play the game and go through some of those adverts.
No problem.
It's life, you know. It just I have no idea. That's never happened before. So I think what we'll do, if there's any questions in the chat, make sure you get them in within the next 20 seconds or so. No pressure. And make sure you say thanks for Augustine to coming on and sharing all that knowledge with us today. I find it's so interesting to get you guys on here. It's like you ask two publishing managers a question and you get like three answers, right? Everyone's got their own sort of take on things, and it's so good to get and tap into your knowledge and your ideas, and it really does make for such a powerful team effort when the games go into like acceleration and publishing and stuff. Thanks, Ryan, for that. We appreciate that. Yeah, we are going to go and wrap it up. We are sorry today. Like I said, my iPad died, and I don't know why. But that is live. So that's going to go and wrap it up. If you haven't done already, get yourself over to the Discord. There's still a few slots to talk to me if you want to have a chat about your Game Jam game. So head on over to the Discord, and there's a link to my calendar. Yeah, and that's gonna sort of draw us to a close today. So thank you, Augustine, once again for taking the time of doing your presentation and sharing it all with us today. I'm definitely gonna. I was looking forward to playing Blob Hero, honestly. What is up, Colette? Good to see you. Colette sneaks in there at the end, as always. So good to see you. Thank you, everybody, for joining with us live. I think take the weekend to have a bit of a chill, everybody. If you're headstrong on jamming, listen to the sort of stuff that you've heard this week, and especially from. I think the biggest takeaway for me today was like that crowd making it epic. Is your game feeling epic or something like that? What's the wow thing in your game? And don't forget, you're making a video here, so we really want to concentrate and put in our best foot forward. All right, that's going to go and wrap it up. Augustine, once again, thank you. And
Thank
we will
you.
see you next time, people. See you later.
See you.